The city of Chicago is not the only place in America where violence has spiked, especially over the last couple of years. But as it pertains to the neighborhood that I'm raising my family in, my wife and I, we love Austin. It is still, it's a beautiful place. We love it. And, it is one of the most violent neighborhoods in the entire city. In fact, Chris, I would argue, and I don't think I even have to argue, but, I'm the first mayor of the city of Chicago's history to wake up every single day in one of the most violent neighborhoods in the entire city. And so, this might sound a little, heavy-handed or maybe even perhaps a little bit audacious, but, I would argue, though, that no one thinks about public safety more than I do.
And there you have it. Brandon Johnson, mayor of the city of Chicago, who actually lives in the Austin neighborhood. And he is saying it's one of the most violent neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. He's raising his family there. He's got his wife and his 2 kids. He's often told this story about how a bullet went through one of the windows of where he lives and was lodged in a wall. He won't even move his own family out of Austin. He is that tied ideologically to what he believes. But don't take my word for it. Again, he lives in Austin, and just in the last 24 hours, this happened.
We want to continue, though, following that breaking news in Chicago's Austin neighborhood, where Chicago police say an officer shot and killed someone while they were pinned by an SUV. Resides has been following this story for us every step of the way, joining us live now near the scene at Waller in Chicago. And I know we've been learning new information every hour on the story.
Yeah, Audrina, that's right. And it's still an active scene out here. We've been watching as detectives have been collecting evidence, really focusing in on that black Nissan sedan that you see officers surrounding right now just across the red crime tape here. Police say 1 suspect is dead, another suspect in custody, and a 3rd suspect remains on the run. Police say they recovered several weapons from inside that black Nissan you see surrounded by police right now. We're told this all started when police were responding to 3 men attempting to steal an SUV around 3:45 this morning. That's what led to a police chase, then a crash that left an officer hurt and a suspect shot. You're looking at video of the scene in Austin. Police say once the suspects were spotted by police, they headed southbound on Waller Avenue. They came face to face with police as they got to Chicago Avenue. Police say that's when they intentionally hit 2 marked Chicago police cars, pinning an officer who shot at them. One of the suspects did get hit by that officer's gunfire. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. A 2nd suspect was taken into custody. A 3rd suspect took off on foot. Police say he got away but threw out a firearm while being chased by officers.
So you heard it right there. These criminals are so brazen in the city of Chicago. They know the mayor lives in the Austin neighborhood. But at 3:45, they tried to rob a car, they tried to steal a car, and the police interdicted and stopped them. But I want you to notice 3 really interesting things about what you just heard that reporter say. 1 person was shot, 1 person was taken into custody, but a 3rd person got away on foot. If you go back and watch another one of my videos, I talk about how the city of Chicago, they have a moratorium on foot chases because they don't want anyone to get hurt. Again, they actually shot 1 person. 1 person didn't make it, but then now this police officer is going to be interviewed and going to be interrogated by COPA because they've got to give all of this scrutiny to a police officer who discharged his firearm. But you just heard they were trying to steal a car.
They crashed into the squad car?
2-3, shots fired, shots fired.
Got shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired by the police. Got an officer hit by a vehicle and a person shot. Chicago and Waller.
And again, police say multiple weapons were recovered at the scene here. We know 2 Chicago police officers were transported to an area hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability is here also investigating. I'm live in Austin this morning. Resides, CBS.
You heard it. You heard it right there. Being investigated by COPA. Imagine the psychology of police officers that they have to worry about going on a foot chase, going on an auto chase, discharging their weapons, being investigated by COPA, being under the scrutiny of every single thing that they do. It's like the city of Chicago goes out of its way to protect criminals. And then, of course, when you hear Brandon Johnson and when you hear everyone speaking from the left, they'll tell you no one in Chicago wants the National Guard. The police don't need any additional assistance. We're doing a great job. All of the violence in the city of Chicago is trending down. Nobody wants any additional help from Washington, D.C. or any place else, right?
To that point, to our next guest, the president's crime crackdown is also creating a storm in the Windy City. ICE enforcement is expected to start up in Chicago today, while leaders there are threatening to take action if the National Guard steps in. But what do residents want? Let's ask one. Chicago resident Kata Truss is the director of the Community Roundtable. She's also a former Chicago school board member. Kata, thanks for coming on with us today. Really appreciate it. I've seen you commenting on this issue on other shows on Fox News, so you're a perfect guest here. You know, federal troops, as we know, are supposed to land in Chicago sometime today. As you know these numbers better than anybody, over Labor Day weekend, 54 people were shot, 7 people were killed. The former head of the Chicago Police Department broke the numbers down like this. He said every 4 hours, someone is shot, and every 20 hours, someone is murdered. So how does the governor say there's no crime problem there?
Well, first of all, let me make a correction. I am not a former member of the Board of Education. My husband is.
Okay, thank you for that.
But the fact of the matter is this. This is basically smoke and mirrors. You know, people don't want to see crime go down, I feel like, because there's money in crime. There's money in the disinvestment of communities. There's money in people not being able to fend for themselves and take care of themselves. I like to call these agencies that go out and get these government funds poverty pimps. That's what I call them, because basically they're getting money to provide services, and oftentimes you can see by what's happening in the street that's not happening. So you have people, a contingent, who really don't want to see crime go down. And the fact of the matter is our mayor was a strong component of defunding the police here in the city of Chicago. That was something that he fought for. And he was asked the other day, if you were given money to hire more police officers, would you take it? And he could not give an emphatic answer, even though crime is riddling this city, regardless of what you hear him say. And just this morning, there was an attempted carjacking where a suspect was killed about a block and a half from his house and 2 blocks from my house, because I live about 3.5 blocks from him.
So, correction, I said they were trying to steal a car. They were actually trying to carjack a car. But think about that. They were 1 block from the mayor's house. These criminals know where the mayor lives. He's got a 100 police officer security detail. They know when he comes and goes, but that didn't stop them from trying to carjack someone exactly 1 block away from the mayor's house. Think the temerity. That just means that they weren't worried about getting caught. They aren't worried about authority. Think about that.
Yeah, and Kata, you know, when you say there's a small element of people there who want to keep the crime going because, you know, they're profiting off of it, that's a group of people, right? But what about the everyday resident like yourself? Tell us what you're hearing about what everyday Chicago residents are saying about the idea of federal troops coming in to work with the local police to try to get crime under control. Is that something they want?
We want it. We want it. But see, our mayor has just put an executive order in place where our police officers can't even work with the National Guard when they're here. So if they see a crime committed or a crime is in process, I don't even know that if they call the police would even respond to them, which I think is crazy. I don't understand why you wouldn't want the help. The citizens, people like me, we want the help. Now, let me just say, I'm not at all comfortable with having armed guards on the street. None of us are, but I'm also not comfortable with living in fear. I'm not comfortable with the fact that earlier this year, my husband was carjacked right in front of my house. I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, I don't know who would be comfortable with that. Right, exactly. Quick question before I let you go.
So you just heard this woman talk about how her husband just got carjacked earlier this summer. Brandon Johnson just said at the beginning of this video that he knows that he lives in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. And if the criminals don't respect him living there, then they're not going to respect any place else in the city. He can't even get law and order under control in the part of Chicago where he lives. How can we possibly have any confidence that he's going to be able to protect the entire city of Chicago? It's time for this mayor to go. If you're still hanging out, do me a favor, leave a comment, share the video, drop a like, and let me know, is it time for Mayor Brandon Johnson to resign?